Welcome to the Douglas County Chamber's Greystone Power Luncheon. I'm Steve Morgan with SunTrust Investment Services and the 2011 Chairman of the Chamber Board of Directors. Before we start today with the program, I wanted to ask Mr. Billy Knight, a fellow Chairman's Club member and a friend of mine, to come up and just say a few words, not a few weeks. We're going to be here a while. A few words about Canongate Golf Club.
Well, hello, everyone. Big crowd. Well, first off, thank you for coming today. We're very honored to sponsor the luncheon. Look forward to for all you to hear Joe speak. I think he's going to do a great job. He always does. Tell you a little bit about Canongate real quick. We're a little different than your traditional private club membership. With Canongate, you join one club and you're a member of multiple clubs, which makes us very unique. We have 23 clubs in Atlanta. Just on the west side of town, we have Chapel Hills. We have Mirror Lake out in Villa Rica and the Frog. And then about 30 minutes from here, we have Canongate 1, which is 36 holes. Just below that, we have White Oak, which is 36 holes, Summer Grove. A lot of golf options right at your fingertips. Over the years, we've changed our membership, especially in the last year. We have newer programs now to try to encourage you to bring your family out to the club. We have one that's really dear to my heart. It's called our Kids Play Free program. So you can bring anyone out, or your child, 15 years old or younger. They come out to you to the golf course and play for free, which is so powerful for the future of the game of golf and just for the future of our young individuals. Every year there are 22% of all girls' golf scholarships go unused, every single year. So it's so important to get these, to get our kids out on the golf course. I was just telling Sharon earlier, I played golf on Chapel Hills the day it was open with my father. This was October of 1992. And he and I played golf Sunday, 2 days ago. That's 19 years, and that's really from golf. I can't go with my father right now and go play soccer, go play softball. We could try, but, I don't know how that would look. I can barely walk and chew gum at the same time. I don't know how I would do playing soccer. But the point is of the relationships you forge on the golf course. And, I can speak from experience growing up around the game that it's just amazing. We have a new sundown rate. You come out after 5:30. The price of golf goes down dramatically. We lowered our guest fees. We've tried to really make the product a lot better for our members. And the feedback we've received from our members has been very positive. So if you're not a member, I encourage you to give me a call. I'll let you come out on the golf course, play it, see what you think about it. I really think you'll enjoy it, and I thank you for coming.
I appreciate that very much, Billy, and we appreciate Canongate's sponsorship today, and I'm just glad you guys are able to join us. Before we give thanks for today's delicious lunch, I would like to offer a special thank you to Jim and Nick's Barbecue, always one of my favorites here for the luncheon. And now I'd like to ask Mr. Billy Mayhew to come lead us in the invocation and pledge.
Thank you. When you said Billy Knight, I started to stand up. Let's bow our heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this great community we live in, and thank you for this free country that we live in, that we are free to worship you. We ask that you bless this food that we have just recently eaten in your Son's service. Amen. And you could stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Chamber of Commerce is going to be holding the Chamber Golf and Tennis Classic September the 21st at Mirror Lake Golf and Country Club. That is a Canongate property, by the way. We hope you all will join us for a great day of golf, tennis, food, and fun. I say this over and over. If you have not had a chance to participate in that event, it is a fabulous day. It is just a lot of fun, and it's unlike most tournaments you'll ever get an opportunity to go out and hang out at or sponsor. So I urge you, if you haven't signed up, to take a look at it. Try to become a sponsor. I promise you, I don't think you're going to regret it at all. It is just a great opportunity. The Diplomats are selling restaurant raffle tickets. These are chamber member restaurants. The raffle tickets are $10, and the winning prize is a $1,000 gift card to local chamber member restaurants. So that would probably come in handy. I can assure you. Please make sure you see one of the Diplomats to get your ticket. The drawing will be at the 19th hole after party, sponsored by Georgia Power, following the Golf and Tennis Classic. You do not need to be present to win that gift prize. Today we're excited to have Joe Guerra as our guest speaker. And when Billy handed me the long list of things that Joe has done, I asked him for some advice on how to be able to read all this, and he said, "Stephen, we'll give you a piece of advice that you could also take to the golf course with you, and that's keep your head down." So while I read this, if my eye contact isn't the greatest in the world, it's because it's an impressive list of accomplishments. Joe Guerra is the founder, president, and CEO of Sequoia Golf Holdings, located in Noonan, Georgia. Sequoia owns 30 private country clubs in Atlanta, Houston, and Denver, and operates 23 other courses in 13 states. Sequoia Golf operates a broad spectrum of private golf properties ranging from entry-level private clubs under the name Canongate Golf in Atlanta to the more exclusive private clubs such as the Woodlands Country Club in Woodlands, Texas. Mr. Guerra has over 25 years of executive experience in every aspect of major golf course development, acquisitions, and operations, both in the United States and internationally. He has also served as co-president and CEO of the largest provider of golf services in the world, the American Golf Corporation. Mr. Guerra is a member of the World Presidents Organization, the Georgia State Golf Foundation Board of Trustees, an advisory board member on behalf of Cal Poly Pomona, a member of the Metro YMCA Board of Directors, a member of the board and past president of the Flint River Council of the Boy Scouts of America, and is the current president of Georgia Golf Course Owners Association. Mr. Guerra was a winner in 2010 of the Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year competition. I told you it was impressive. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please help me welcome Mr. Joe Guerra.
Of all those nonprofits, it's a wonder I get anything accomplished from a profit perspective. I feel a lot of camaraderie in this room, and I'm very pleased to be here because this market, Douglasville, is very, very important to our company and to me personally. Chapel Hills, Mirror Lake, and then most recently the Frog, being 3 courses that we own and operate in this market, have been very, very successful. Have proven to be a great investment for the company. And some of our best employees, including Billy, have come as, you know, in addition to the acquisition of those courses. And when I was thinking about what I was going to talk about today, what occurred to me was that I want to try to get you guys as excited as possible, because when your businesses are successful, my business is successful. We're sort of down the food chain from all of you. When your business grows, our business grows. People play golf when they're feeling good about themselves, the economy, etc. And I like all this discussion about golf as well. It's been great to hear about it. You know, I want to talk about something that I feel I know a little bit something about, but also an area where I continue to focus and try to develop my own skills. And I'm going to share with you what my thoughts are about leadership in a way that is hopefully easy to memorize, and maybe there's some good things that you can take away. And as I went through these notes, it occurred to me that I'm really talking to myself as well. So I felt a little awkward about communicating and perhaps like preaching about what I think is the right way to endeavor in leadership. But in fact, it's something that I have to remind myself of because there's a gap when it comes to my personal development as well. You know, Bobby Jones, everybody knows Robert Tyre Jones from Atlanta, Georgia, obviously. He achieved something a little over 80 years ago called the Grand Slam. And back in those days, it was the four majors, which is different than the four majors now. But it was the British Open, the British Amateur, the U.S. Open, and the U.S. Amateur. And he won all four of those events in 1 year. And shortly thereafter, and it was just about toward the tail end of the Depression, CBS and Hollywood called him up and said, "Hey, Bobby, would you like to do a series of videos, instructional videos?" And he said, "I'd be happy to do it," and I'm sure they paid him and all of that. But what he described those videos as golf my way, playing golf my way as opposed to playing golf. Here's how you should play golf. And so when I talk about leadership, this is sort of the Joe Guerra version of leadership, not necessarily the only way, but certainly a way that works for me. And if you think about the word leadership, L-E-A-D-E-R-S-H-I-P, leadership, I'm going to take each one of those letters and talk about a concept uniquely associated with each of those letters. And the first one is L, of course. And there's so many words that apply in terms of leadership to that word L, but the one that really comes to mind for me would be luck, and then second, love. But let's talk about luck. Let's talk about how lucky most all of us are. First of all, we don't get to pick our parents, and we don't get to pick our DNA, do we? But yet somehow all of us have special talents that provide us the opportunity to lead in our communities, to lead our businesses, to influence lives, to develop young people, to make a difference in this economy. Boy, is that important and powerful. And when you think about luck that way, it puts into perspective, I think, everything, including, what we should take credit for and what we shouldn't. Those long lists of attributes that were listed about me, from my perspective, I give the credit probably 50% to my parents and the other 50% to God, because, obviously I didn't ask for those things. I didn't ask for the talents necessary to be successful, but somehow I was selected. And so when you think about it that way, it makes it easy to understand how luck plays a key in success. And I think it was very interesting, because I've been saying this for years, but I saw on MSNBC a special program with Bill Gates and Warren Buffett having a conversation with some Columbia Business School students about what made them successful. And one of the kids asked, "Could you please tell me what role luck had in your success?" And each of them looked at each other like, "Do you want to answer this question, or would you?" And so said, "Be my guest." So Bill Gates said, "I can answer this question for both of us because we've had many conversations about the role that luck has had in our careers. And luck has everything to do with our success, for all the reasons that I had just mentioned. And that's where they lie the credit for their success." The second letter is educate, or E, educate. Education is so important. And when I think about ambition, I think about ambition in terms of ambitious for knowledge. The ambition for knowledge, the ambition to understand and to stretch beyond what your capacity is today, to think of new ways of doing old things, to make sure that you don't rest on the same laurels that got you where you are today, because the world is changing. Great example from our perspective, Xbox, Nintendo, these devices didn't exist 10 years ago. They weren't nearly as prolific even 3 years ago. This is diffusing the focus of young people. One of the interesting things that I heard recently and read was about how boredom plays a key role in imagination and innovation. The kind of boredom that allows you to think. Sometimes it's when you have the worst possible job. You're a young person, an aspiring artist could be stuck behind the counter working somewhere with a lot of downtime, and the wheels are turning, and they're inventing things, and they're creating. Or an inventor or an engineer may have downtime and originate thought that will make a contribution to mankind or to their community or to some device or their company. But today, it's very difficult to find that time because our minds are filled, incessantly with entertainment from these little devices, of which I have 3 and about to get a new one. Whether it's an iPod or Galaxy Tab, I get it. But that comment struck me like a bolt of lightning. that we have to take the time to educate, A, and B, we need to have downtime so that we can originate thought, because that's where massive contributions come and breakthroughs in the way that we think. The combination of those two things are powerful. The next letter, A, very, very important, attitude. There are three things, we'll touch on all three of these through these letters. Attitude, discipline, and judgment are the three attributes that are most important and critical to the success of an individual. Whether you want to be a golfer, whether you want to be a business person, a great spouse, a parent, whatever it is, attitude, that's something that we have control over. We may have negative feelings, and I have them sometimes too. A feeling of, well, gosh, you're perturbed. And then your mind can work in a way that will help you rationalize that poor behavior. But we have the ability to control, and we have the discipline to control our attitude and to decide to make a conscientious decision not to exhibit those attributes or those attitudes or those personality characteristics which are not conducive to success, because they pollute everything around you, all the people that you influence in your life. And yet, so many times we feel justified. That person made me angry. I had a right. They didn't do it the right way. But the question is, how do you handle it? And how do you make the most positive impact in others around you? And remember that a positive attitude helps you think about success in a way that is reachable. The minute you start thinking negatively, or the minute that you are frustrated and you're rationalizing negative behavior, then half the battle is lost when it comes to being successful and experiencing good leadership qualities. The next is D. And when I think of D, I think of two words, actually, drive and determination. They're very, very related to one another. I like to think about always being in motion, focusing toward a goal or some objective, something that is going to move the needle. Sometimes it may be a profit needle. Sometimes it may be a personal development needle. Sometimes it may be just helping somebody else. But the idea that you never accept the status quo and that you constantly reach for the next best thing. I only have one prayer. I pray one thing and only one thing. And that is, may the good Lord lead me to the next best thing in my life. Whatever that is. I don't ask for things. I don't ask for Him to solve a problem. I just ask for that. That kind of wisdom and that kind of direction for me, my family, my loved ones, and everybody that I work with and anybody in my sphere of influence. Because the rest of it is up to Him. And I believe that if I take that prayer combined with staying inside the guardrails of some very, very good thinking and some very, very good discipline with respect to personal behavior, work ethic, and all of those things, we all will maximize the potential of being successful and having our businesses be successful as well. Never give up. Got to remember, under this initiative of Drive, there's a solution to every problem. I don't know about you guys, but I have learned so much this last 3 or 4 years. Would I wish it had never happened? Of course I do. But I can tell you something. I know that I'm a better human being. I'm a better qualified business leader. I'm a better CEO. I'm a better friend. I'm more empathetic. All of the attributes that I admire in a human being, I think I've improved upon because of what we've been through this last 3-4 years. Really, for us, it's been through 2007. You know, adversity, it just doesn't define character, it reveals character, and it gives you the opportunity to reach for the absolute best in everything that you do. You have to survive. And that pressure, the pressure to change, is sometimes very good. You know, sometimes growth comes out of negative things. You learn from your mistakes, just like sometimes love says no. Sometimes you shouldn't do things under the auspices of love as a result of that. So sometimes negatives actually do fit. You know, under an adverse situation, you learn something and you grow from it. E, execution. I talked about imagination. The combination of being able to sustain execution of what you need to do. It's one thing to have an idea. It's another thing to sustain execution. I love the word execute. Execution, I should say, not execute. Execution or execute in the context
of getting something done, when combined with those other traits that I described, like drive, are very, very powerful. Now, let's take the word execution and combine it with imagination. And then you have innovation. And innovation is what transforms what you're doing today into something that creates value, solves a problem, moves things to the next level. Those things can be achieved even under the most dire of economic circumstances, I can assure you. I mean, we've put a whole bunch of new meat in our bread and our sandwich at Candygate as a result of what's happened in this market, and it's working. And I'm proud of the team for having the wherewithal and the ability to sustain execution on meaningful changes that have really made a difference in our business. And it falls back under that other thing I said earlier, which is there's always a solution to every single problem. There's always an opportunity to capitalize on something that can move your business forward or your personal life forward. So I love that word execution, especially when it's combined with innovation. Again, on this word of execution, very important to overcome any of those negative feelings of, you don't deserve this, you shouldn't have that, you're not good enough. Do you know that 40% of successful people hear negative thoughts every single day? And I do too. I hear a little voice sometimes that tells me we can't do it or we shouldn't. But I've learned just through education, counseling, talking to other business leaders and mentors, you should not trust those feelings of doubt. Those are feelings. Feelings should not be trusted. You have to think with your head and think about what's rational. You have every right to be successful and every right, an entitlement to success and happiness, as does everybody. And it's easy for each one of us to rationalize that we don't deserve it for one reason or another, but in fact we do. And the only difference between those of us who have success and those of us who achieve things in our life and those that don't is that those that do believe they can. And those that don't listen to those negative voices and that negative, karma that tells you maybe I shouldn't. The next word is R, or the next letter is R, and the word that comes to mind is respect. This is a different kind of respect. Yes, respect others. Respect everybody. Don't make assumptions about people. I'm going to tell you a real quick story. I was up in Banff, and it struck me like a bolt of lightning. I'm on the first tee. We're going to play with Paul Casey, Lucas Glover, Jonathan Vegas. This is just 3 weeks ago, and I told my staff this story already. A whole bunch of pros. We're going to play with them one day, and then we're going to caddy for them the next day on national television in Canada, right after the Canadian Open. And one of the guys we got paired up with, I didn't know him from Adam. A young man, got kind of a little spiky hair, very polite, shows up, short pants, tattoos here, tattoos on his ankles, tattoo on the back of his leg. And I looked at him and I took a chance. And I said, guys, this is what we're going to do. We have to name our team and we got to beat everybody in this field. We had our pro, we called him Timberwolf. But I said, look, we're going to be a wolf pack. And we're going to build a camaraderie over this next 18 holes that is going to be so powerful, we'll win. And we're going to have more fun than we've ever had in a long time playing 18 holes. And I said, by the second hole, we're all going to decide on a nickname for each other. So you're going to name me, and I'm going to name you, and we're going to decide. So I was Love Wolf, by the way. And I became, I later became Love Alpha Wolf, which I kind of liked a lot, actually. But our leader pro was Timberwolf. And this young guy, I said, Kyle, I go, you're Rockin' Wolf. And he looked over at me, and then he set up to the tee, and he could hit the ball about 300 yards. And then I said, well, maybe you should be Body Art Wolf. And I just took a chance, because I thought he'd get it, and he did. He chuckled as he was looking down at his ball, because he's a little nervous. He's with a bunch of executives. And he comes up to me on the next tee, and I really liked him a lot. And he said, each of these tattoos means something. They're very important to me. They have something to do with each member of my family. And I said, look, dude, you don't have to explain to me. I get it. I like you. I like them. I said, I admire it. See, the point here is that we can prejudge. We can decide when we just take a look at somebody whether we like them or not. And what a mistake that is. What a mistake, because this young man is the #2 guy at Nike Golf. in their marketing department. He's got an enormous amount of intelligence. His horsepower upstairs is off the chart. He earned that position because he's that good. And I'll dare say that someday he will run that department, which is a $900 million company, just that part of Nike. And, you know, look, I said, you know what, this is potentially 25 or 30% of our upcoming customer base, right? Young kids, they relate to Ricky Fowler. They don't relate to Phil. I love Phil, by the way, so I'm not knocking Phil Mickelson. But you know what I'm saying? Or Tiger Woods or anybody. I mean, these young guys coming up, this is who they admire. This is what it's all about. And we get stuck in the paradigm in the context of what's important to us and what we accept. So respect has a lot more to do than simply saying, I have respect for others. It means walking the walk every single day when you meet somebody and not assuming the worst, but assuming the best about them and assuming that they have the ability, like you do, to change the world. I can remember being a young guy walking around in a blue uniform at the Beverly Hilton Hotel with my name right here and carrying a tool pouch. And my job was to unplug toilets and fix air conditioners. You know what was so fascinating? Beverly Hilton Hotel, very wealthy people in the middle of Beverly Hills. Half the people that looked at me would say, young man, where did you come from? What's your life all about? What do you plan to do? If they were standing around. The other half didn't give me the time of day. Boy, what an impact. Those that took an interest in me. Because I had a story, I had a dream, I had a vision. No idea whether I would ever sustain execution of it at that young age. But I had it, and it was in me. And I thought, I can be like you someday. And then there were others that didn't even take the time or bother to even ask me the question. The next letter, S, self-discipline. We talked about discipline as being one of those tenets of success. Very, very important in leadership as well. Self-discipline. It's having a sturdy temperament, having the ability to stay inside the guardrails of things that are good for you and staying away from the things that are not. Very hard for me. I've got a very high level of risk-taking DNA. I don't know why I do, but I do. And I suppose in many ways it's made me very successful, but in other ways, your greatest strength can be your greatest weakness. And you have to know when it's time to say no, and to demonstrate discipline when you know things can hurt you, and more importantly, when things can hurt others, like people in your company or your spouse or your kids. And again, we can rationalize our behavior all day long, but to have the self-discipline to be able to say no, to make sure that your emotional and your social and your intellectual apparatus and balance are all intact. The next letter is humility. This is important and goes right along with empathy. And here again, you know, there are people that really sometimes irritate me, and you know, you see them and they do something stupid, and I find myself going, that idiot. But you know what? I'd like to think that each time I want to say that, I catch myself and I don't, because I'm guilty too. Instead say, you know what? You ought to be glad you're not like that. Just think about walking a mile in that person's moccasins. Do you think they choose to think that way? Do you think the fact that you have a better ability to reason and think is somehow earned? It was given to you again. We can say all we want that we made all the right choices in life. That's just not true. Somebody had a pattern for your life, and you had the ability to reason at a very high level when others do not. It's frustrating when you see people not reason like you do. But this is where empathy really hits, where the rubber meets the road with empathy, because we have to remember that just because we are the way we are, other people are not, doesn't make us better. It should make us want to help them. It should make us want to be appreciative of the God-given talents that we have, and the fact that we have better reasoning ability, if that's the case, or whatever it is. And again, you know, for those that take credit, and it drives me crazy. I mean, it's difficult sometimes for me to hear some of the things I've done. I mean, I am just like everybody else. I play golf. I love my family, my work family, my personal family. I consider myself to have a different job, and so I have different responsibilities. But we're all equal. And we need to remember that under the auspices of humility and empathy. The next is integrity. And this is a different kind of integrity that I'm thinking about. Yes, integrity, like you hear, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, be honest, tell the truth. Okay? I was just telling everybody, it's easy when you turn 50 You just have to tell the truth because you can't remember what you said yesterday. And so if you just tell the truth, you sound stupid because you repeat yourself, but at least you're not caught lying anymore. When you're young, you can get away with 3 or 4 different stories, you know? But honestly, my definition of integrity is know thyself. To really understand, and this is what I started with, the gap between where you are as a human being, where you are as a leader, where you are as a business person, where you are as a spouse, where you are as a sibling, where you are as a parent. The gap between where you are and where you're going or where you want to be. We all have it. That's also very humiliating to me. To understand that while the world may say, this guy is successful, he has done this, he has done that, in my universe and world, I've not achieved anywhere near what I want to. And I'm not talking about possessions and things like that and accomplishments. I'm talking about the content of character and the quality that I am as a human being. Because again, we are all so imperfect and it's difficult. And I think it's a huge mistake for me to come out and say, this is the way we should all be. You know, maybe some people have a really high level of discipline and never are tempted to do stupid things or do stupid things or to sin or whatever, but that's not me. I'm not one of those guys. I'm tempted every single day and every single minute. Okay? So it takes discipline and it takes all of these things to remind me to stay inside of the appropriate guardrails. But integrity is really understanding that gap and being able to articulate it. Now I want to tell you something else. This is, if you study psychology in the mind and how people interact and how our society functions, people will only tell you about 25% of what you really need to know to ultimately maximize your success or to know yourself. So what does that mean? To understand the other 75%, you need to do 2 things. One, you need to read, you know, and research. And the second is you need to ask a lot of people that you trust that have very good judgment. How am I perceived? What am I really like? You know, am I doing a good job? What would you do different if you were me? And don't overreact. Just take it. Write them down. Cogitate. Think about what's told you. We are how we are perceived, whether we like it or not. You can, you know, we all think we're like the little kid who's 5 years old. They put their hands over their face and doesn't think the world can see them. We're all transparent. Abraham Lincoln apparently had the best ability to have this out-of-body experience where he would stand above and look down at himself and see how he was perceived. It's hard to do that. It's like trying to imagine what God looks like. It's not easy, but it's a very, very important skill to develop, at least to attempt to develop, to understand how to be the best that you can be as a leader. That is to be able to get the feedback and to really know thyself and to develop a plan, to understand your internal strengths and weaknesses, and to be able to address those weaknesses in a way that are going to make you a better person going forward. And finally, in closing, P, purpose in life. Is your life achievement-driven or is your life purpose-driven? And I'd have to say for the first 30 years of my life, it was achievement-driven. I had something to prove. Do you know that virtually all successful people, and again, the psychology, I spent 15 years with an industrial psychologist. I still talk to psychologists. I love understanding the mind and how to align the behavior of individuals with the objectives of your organization. And there's no question that when you think about, I lost my train of thought here. And you do that when you turn 50 also. The purpose in life. Oh, what I was going to say is this. For the first 30 years, all successful people, virtually all successful people have something to prove by the age of 10 years old. It's in you. Okay, it was some adversity. Alcoholic parent, fat chubby kid, lisp, color of skin, minority, something that served as a powerful motivator to overcome, to prove to the world that you were worthy. And what it does is it puts you on this path of achievement and success. But you realize once you achieve that success, that ultimately, you know, you didn't need to do that in the first place because you were trying to prove to the world your worthiness, or at least that was the case with me. When in fact, you realize once you've achieved all of that, when you turn 30, 35, whatever the year is, that boy, you reach that pinnacle and you still feel empty. And you go, what was this all about? And for me, I understood it when I realized that my purpose in life was to develop others, to do everything I could to set the best possible example as a human being. The greatest sin of all, not maximizing the talents that you have to the benefit of the people that are around you, your business, to contribute to the economy, or if it's a nonprofit to your organization. What a waste, right? To know that you could do more than you're not. And once I realized that my life was purpose-driven as opposed to achievement-driven, then finally I understood why I was here and what was important to me, and boy, was that more fulfilling. And think about that. Richness, possessions, accolades, they don't move the needle, honestly. And many of you probably know that because you've achieved a fair level of success yourself. And what really matters is substance and purpose, and when you make an impact and you help others and you make a contribution in all those areas that we discussed. That concludes my remarks. I hope that it was helpful to you, and I hope I didn't go too far over the time limit. And I enjoyed sharing my thoughts with you, and I'm going to be around afterwards if anybody has any questions. Thank you very much.
Well, that was fantastic. Thank you, Joe, for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and share those wise words with us all here today. On September, AT&T Business After Hours will be our Entrepreneur Expo. If you are a home-based or micro business interested in exhibiting, please see Patty Wink or Callie Boatwright. They have information. Our next AT&T Business After Hours is sponsored by Wellstar Douglas Hospital, and it will be at Atlanta's Finest, which is the Old Rock Inn out on 78 West going toward Villa Rica. On Thursday, August 25th, it's from 4 to 6. We hope to see everyone there. I want to thank again the City of Douglasville for the use of the Conference Center. We want to thank Jim and Nick's for some fantastic barbecue, Canongate Golf for sponsoring today's luncheon, and Greystone Power for the naming sponsorship. Look forward to seeing you all at the next event and hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you very much.